Alrighty, go.
Hello, YouTubers. Welcome to another Chog Vlog. Today we're going to do another action figure review. And today we have an action figure line that's called Space Precinct 2040. Now what Space Precinct is it was a show by Gary Anderson. Now I don't know if any of you know who Gary Anderson. In the 70s, he did a lot of shows like Thunderbirds and things like that. But they used puppets, which they called super marionette, because they had facial expressions. But they were generally puppets, and they used model kits, and they were pretty popular in England. And in 1994, he did the Space Precinct, which was actually used actors, but he did do he did the effects with like a lot of models, and there was a lot of aliens with prosthetics. I don't believe that the show was showed widely in the U.S. I think it was mostly showed in Canada and the UK. But anyway, there is a figure line for it. Again, I don't think it was widely available in the U.S., mostly Canada and Britain. And so we're going to show you the figures that came along with this show.
The figures, they're made by a company called Vivid Imaginations. Nobody heard of them, but it's pretty obscure. I don't know if the figures are ever available here in the U.S., but you can find them on eBay for quite cheap. Now, this is the main character, Lieutenant Brogan. The figures are pretty accurate. I mean, they're not great. The detail's not that great, but I mean, the accessories are pretty accurate.
They look very much like the old Migos from the 70s, like the Star Trek, what have you figures.
Yeah, each character comes with their little ID. This is the first Lieutenant Brogan, and then there's also a second version, basically just with a different gun and without his jacket, just in his regular blue uniform. And then is his partner, Officer Haldane. And he's got some weird looking plunger thing. I don't know what the heck that's supposed to be. And then one of the other human officers is Officer Castle.
I wonder if she's a distant relative of Nathan Fillion's character.
Yeah, probably not. And like I say, the show is made up of humans and aliens like working together. These are the alien cops. They're pretty weird looking. This is Captain Podley, and then Officer Oren.
They're pretty ugly.
They are ugly. And then there's a couple of guys of different species, these blue-skinned freaks. I don't know what their race is called. This is Sergeant Frito. And then we have Officer Took. And of course you can't have space without some robots. This is the police's robot that does all their computations, Slow-Mo. He was actually pretty hard to find. Of all the figures, he's the only one we had a hard time finding. And of course you got to have a couple of villains. The show was always out on the villain of the week, but they didn't make all the figures, but we did get a few of them. They're pretty deep. They're pretty well designed though. This one is Cyborg, which of course is a cyborg, I'm assuming. And then
they're appropriately named
Snake. Yeah, he kills people with venom. And this ugly dude, Morgo.
Let me get a close with that head. I mean,
he's got a big old noggin.
Look how big they had to make a huge bubble because his head was so big.
And then lastly, we have they made one 12-inch figure, which is just Lieutenant Brogan. He comes with his accessories. Doesn't come with his jacket though.
Pretty detailed, yeah. I like his badge and his
pretty good likeness.
What was the actor's name?
I can't remember. He was on like Falcon Crest or something. But yeah. Now there are still a couple of vehicles, but there's like the police cruiser and then the police bike, which we haven't found. Everyone on eBay is always charging like $200.
Too much. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, so that's the only thing we're missing, just the police cruiser and then the police bike. But
the police cruiser, it's pretty detailed. I mean, because it has opening doors and it fits 4 figures. It is a pretty cool toy. But I'm not going to pay no $300 freaking for that thing.
Yeah, because most all these figures we got for, I don't think we even paid maybe $100 for the whole lot, including he was like $25. It's usually about maybe $10-$50 for most of the figures. So they're pretty easy to find on eBay. Like I say, the only one Slow-Mo was the only one who had a hard time finding, but if you want to make a collection of it, it's a pretty obscure one, but like I said,
but it's pretty cool because, I mean, it does have a very, very vintage feel to them. And like I said, they look They look like they were made in the 70s, late 80s, early 80s, from Mego or some company.
Yeah, the show only lasted one season, but I think you can still find it on YouTube or Tubi. It's worth checking out for, it's definitely a product of its time. You can tell it's from the 90s.
Yeah, 90s action. But it does have some cool alien designs.
But yeah, that's our little small collection of the Space Precinct. If you have any questions or comments, just let us know. And as always, keep on chogging.